Open Mic Show. This hour of Open Mic is being brought to you by Haverhill Bank. Just one bank. Chris Porter is in master control, Radio Chris as we call him. He likes to be known as DJ Chris, but he's the man with all the unpaying radio jobs, from WMEX to WXBJ, WMFO. Am I doing okay? All right. So there's Radio Chris. All right. Tonight, largely open lines, but Greg Caliri will be joining us after 7:05. I believe he'll be talking to us about the benefits to the Merrimack Valley of bringing the Olympics to Boston. So we look forward to hearing from Greg Caliri at 7:05 after the news. I have to thank Greg because he apparently sent me a note earlier in the week. For whatever reason, I either overlooked it or it got caught on a spam filter. I'm not sure which, but luckily he followed up, and he will be on this evening. You can watch the Open Mic Show for the next 2 hours at WHAV.TV on your computer or smartphone. You can also watch it on Facebook. Thanks to the new technology, and Chris has implemented it. It's working quite well. You can also watch us on Haverhill Community Television, Channel 22. Our thanks go out to Channel 22 for bringing you this program and getting it on very timely. We very much appreciate that. At some point, Chris will recenter my camera because now I realize I'm off to one side. We did check this first, but somehow all of this tends to happen. But you know, WHAV, as I often say, is more than just the Open Mic Show. It's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at WHAV.net, again on your computer or smartphone. It is on AM radio 1640 in the northern Haverhill, Atkinson, and Plastow, New Hampshire areas. Good news is the Federal Communications Commission, as longtime listeners know, has approved a new FM license for WHAV. As soon as some of the details are worked out with the tower site, WHAV will be heard on FM all the way to the ocean at 97.9. Also on cable television, Andover, Channel 8, Methuen, Channels 8 and 22 on Comcast, Channel 32 on Verizon Fios, Plastow, Channels 17 and 23, Sandown, Channel 17. Channel 32, by the way, from Methuen is heard statewide in those communities that have Fios television from Verizon. I welcome your calls and comments tonight, as always, 978-374-1900. Again, 978-374-1900. Television viewers, you'll note it is on the screen at all times. If you're shy, you can email me directly at tcoco, TCOCO, at WHAV.net. There's also a message board below the TV screen at WHAV.tv. Feel free to write a comment there. Thanks to Jack Bevilacqua, a longtime Open Mic Show host who was on last week in my place. As some of you who were watching may recall, I was covering live the event at Plug Pond for Michael Nicoloro, decorated war veteran that passed away unexpectedly. I mentioned the email and the message board, but if you want to win a prize, then you have to actually talk to me. And, of course, as usual, thanks to our great friends at LBD's second-generation Italian bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford, we have birthday and anniversary cakes. So if you would call in a June birthday or a June anniversary, wish the happy couple an anniversary, wish someone, could be anyone, it could be you, wish yourself a happy birthday, and you will be entered into the contest for a free 7-inch cake, your choice of chocolate or vanilla, from LBD's second-generation Italian bakery. These folks are really wonderful, as I have said, and this is not just language used for promotion. I really mean this. Open every morning, 7 days a week at 6 a.m. That's dedication, I'll tell you that. And that kind of tells you for sure that everything is actually baked fresh. And you don't have to wait for your birthday cake. There's also breads, pizza, cookies, mini pastries. I have a whole list of things here. Pies, desserts, and sweetbreads, specialty cakes, all available from our friends at LBD's second-generation Italian bakery. Actually, Chris, I don't know if you've seen it, but there is a slide for LBD's. It looks holiday-ish. Maybe we should update that at some time. Now, I just want people who are waiting for prizes to know, and I'm going to kind of hold them up because you really can't see. On radio, you can't see it at all, so I'll describe it. I have found a giant backlog of prizes that are owed to people, and I apologize for the delay. This is a nonprofit, non-commercial, all-volunteer radio station for the time being. But people who may be waiting for prizes, I hope will know that they're actually going to get mailed tonight. Jerry from Methuen, I believe those are baseball cards. Let's see. These are checks for employees of internships and so on. So there are some people who get paid, but the internships have ended. Here's one for Rod. I think it's tickets to either a comedy night and that's this Thursday, or the All-Pro Patriots baseball game against the Haverhill Police. Another one for Dave for that. Marcel has won the gift certificate to Kimball Tavern Antiques. And I think there's one other thing in here. I think another prize as well. These are left over from last season because Whittier Birthplace closed for the season, and these people were promised free admission. So Kyla and Annette, you'll finally be getting your free admission to the John Greenleaf Whittier Birthplace. And I'll throw that out as well. I could come up with some complicated trivia question, but we've had so many of those lately. If you would like to visit the John Greenleaf Whittier Birthplace Museum, absolutely free of charge. It's a 70-acre farm. This time of year, there's actually a new attraction this year, 120,000 bees. That's right, you heard it right. Bees on the farm making honey. You might find that a nice attraction. There are also cows, pastures, and, of course, Whittier's birthplace itself. And be the first person to request a ticket, and you'll receive free admission to the John Greenleaf Whittier Birthplace. Kathy also last week won a ticket to the Comedy Night in Methuen. Those tickets were donated by Jerry from Methuen. Our thanks. If for some reason you do not believe this will arrive in your mailbox before Thursday, those who are waiting for the Comedy Night tickets, feel free to give Chris a call, 978-374-1900, and we'll leave them at the front desk, or you can even pick them up tonight. And here's someone who's really bottom of the pile, but not intentionally. David Goswood apparently won some baseball cards many months ago. Those were just uncovered. And here's what really happened. We had to open all of these envelopes and put in the prize letters that were somehow left out, explaining what it was. So, big pile of prizes here. It's almost like the holidays. So we'll do that. Okay, again, if you're just tuning in, Greg Caliri will be on the Open Mic Show at 7:05 or so after local news. He'll be likely, I didn't confirm this with him, but I know it's his pet project these days, talking about the benefits of bringing the Olympics to Boston, but the benefits to the Merrimack Valley. Now, I don't think we have a new trivia question yet for Kimball Tavern Antiques, but they're so supportive of the Open Mic Show. I'd like to, throw out a call to action of sorts. If you enjoy going through knickknacks and furnishings and all kinds of neat things, and of course the inventory changes daily, antiques, visit Kimball Tavern Antiques, corner of Salem and South Main Streets. We do appreciate their service to WHAV, long-time supporters. All right, we're going to go to a break shortly, but before we do, here's some topics we might discuss. As many of you know by now, WHAV broke the news as soon as it happened yesterday. Haverhill Fire Chief Richard Borden passed away at only 56 years of age. It was a surprise, and here's a man who was about to retire in just a matter of weeks or months. I think the difference is whether you count the vacation days and so on that are accrued. But I believe he was just before the Haverhill City Council in the last few weeks receiving accolades. Maybe you have a thought, a memory, a condolence you wish to offer. Maybe you were surprised or shocked when you saw the news either on WHAV's Facebook page, or you heard the 11 o'clock news last night, or simply visited WHAV.net. But quite a shock. Haverhill Fire Chief Richard Borden passed away at 56. You may recall his father was also the fire chief from the 1980s to 1999. I'll tell you what, why don't we take a break before Chris starts throwing things through the glass? We'll take a break. For this hour, we have Mass Moments, this day in Massachusetts history. Then we'll be back with your calls, your questions, your prize entries. We'll be right back.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
If you want to know what's going on at WHAV, sign up for the free monthly Wavelength newsletter online at whav.net.
Catch the wave!
Melinda's Garden Moments help gardeners create and maintain a healthy, beautiful garden with ease, inside or out and all year long. This is Melinda Myers, inviting you to tune in every weekday morning right here on WHAV. You'll learn creative ways to grow your own vegetables and herbs while beautifying your landscape. Eco-friendly lawn care, flower garden design basics, unique container gardens, attracting birds and butterflies to the landscape, and much more. Again, please join me weekday mornings for Melinda's Garden Moment for a very environmentally friendly approach to gardening. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Today is May 18th. On this day in 1820, a barn filled with hay burned to the ground in Newburyport. Just 3 days later, cries of fire alarmed the town again. Terrified residents were convinced they had an arsonist in their midst. 16-year-old Stephen Clark was arrested and charged with arson, a capital offense even when there was no personal injury or loss of life. The jury found him guilty, but recommended commutation of the sentence. Nevertheless, the state hanged him on May 10, 1821. Clark's case fueled the movement in Massachusetts to reduce the number of capital crimes, if not abolish the death penalty altogether. By 1852, only murder remained on the books as a capital offense. The Supreme Judicial Court ruled the death penalty unconstitutional in 1984. For more about this and other mass moments, go on massmoments.org. Brought to you by the Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities.
Catch the wave! WHAV! Open mic!
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. This hour of the Open Mic being brought to you by Haverhill Bank, just one bank. You know, speaking of the Haverhill Bank, I don't know if you caught this on WHAV News. There'll be more of it today, but it actually is a story that broke Friday morning. The fifth floor, the top floor of Harbor Place's commercial building. That's right there at White's corner of Main and Merrimack Streets on the riverside. You probably know what is the old Woolworths site. The fifth floor had been kind of a mystery. It seemed like sometimes it was in the picture and sometimes it wasn't. But the fifth floor has been purchased. That's right, purchased, not leased, by local accountant Randall Bennett. Many of you know Randy, as we call him. He's a longtime Haverhill Exchange Club member. He had his business for many years on Summer Street, then moved it down to Washington Street, 109. Those of you old enough to remember 109 Washington, I believe, was one of maybe the original home of the Roma restaurant before it moved to Bradford. And if you don't know, I think the Bradford site was one of many car dealerships. And before that might have been, someone correct me if I'm wrong, maybe a lumber yard or something like that. So I always like to work a little history into the Open Mic Show. But in any event, I mentioned Haverhill Bank. Well, Tom Mortimer spoke. He's the president of Haverhill Bank. He spoke during the ceremonies that took place right across the street from the site on Merrimack Street Friday morning. And he said he didn't need to state the obvious, but the Woolworth project, if it were easy, it would have been done years ago. And talked about how there were many obstacles. We may never know how many there were. There were many obstacles to getting, whether it was state grants or local permits or perhaps financing issues. Again, we may never know. But he said a lot of people worked on those issues and no complaints, not from the city, not from the state. I would say the hero of the day Friday morning was Representative Brian Dempsey. I don't know how many of you realize this. I think many of you do, but Brian Dempsey is chairman of the very powerful House Ways and Means Committee on Beacon Hill. And I don't think it's much of an exaggeration to say, if it weren't for Brian, the $19 million in, I guess some will argue, your taxpayer funds. But I guess instead of going to another place like Fall River, Taunton, New Bedford, Gardner, Holyoke, all communities in great need as well, that $19 million came to Haverhill. And in fact, we learned on Friday that some of that money was actually used to pay off the mortgage that the Greater Haverhill Foundation took out on the Woolworth building and some of the other buildings. So I'm assuming that makes them whole again, most of their money back in their accounts for other charitable and civic purposes. So we'll learn more about that probably in the weeks to come. Oh, do we have a call? I'll tell you what. Oh, you send it over here. You're not going to control the calls? All right.
Yes, I will after this one.
He will after this one. Well, he finds he can control it better on that end. All right, you are on the Open Mic Show.
Well, Tim, it's so good to hear your voice.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't been able to get not audio for a month.
You mean on Channel 22?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to keep thanking them profusely and see if that helps. Because
I was wondering why you did that.
What's that?
I was wondering why you did that.
Oh, why I'm being so nice?
Yeah, I almost didn't get it tonight either.
Well, it's one of those things where I suppose my mother and father always told me you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. So I'm trying that. So we're thanking Haverhill Community Television for promptly getting WHAV on. All right. So, Marcel, what is on your mind? I have your prize package here.
Did you get my message? I called up for a happy birthday the other week.
You did?
Yeah, I did, because I couldn't get on. I couldn't hear you on the radio, but I knew. So the 30th was your birthday, so I said to say hello to you.
Oh, I don't know that I got that message, although I am getting absent-minded in my old age, especially older age now. Well, thank you very much for your kind wishes.
Well, I got another birthday here for June.
Ah, we have a June birthday. All right.
Yep.
Whose birthday is it?
Attorney Fred.
What's that?
Attorney Fred.
Attorney
Yeah,
Fred.
he's a retired attorney.
I have a good idea who it is, but maybe we shouldn't reveal it, huh?
You want me to say his last name?
I'll say it. Is it Fred Sarome?
No.
Oh, how many Attorney Freds can there be?
Well, his name is Sunderland.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I know him. All right, well, happy birthday, Attorney Fred. I thought maybe you had a Attorney Sarome on there. We'll have to find out what his birthday is now that we mentioned his name.
Yeah, we will. I don't know.
All right, because he's retired as well, or semi-retired, I guess. Well, anyway, isn't that nice of you to remember people's birthdays? So, by the way, I did tell my aunt that you called in her birthday and that she won. And unfortunately, it came at a tragic time in the family's
Yeah, I know.
times. But I think it was, frankly, it lifted her spirits quite a bit. So thank you for remembering my aunt. And it's a good thing I was not hosting the show that night, because it would have looked like collusion. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Any thoughts on the death of the fire chief or the building projects downtown?
Well, you know, looking downtown there, I like the way it looks now.
You know, it's funny you say that. You're not the first person to say that. I was having a discussion with someone whose name I've forgotten now. But have you ever been to South Beach in Florida?
No.
Well, you know, it kind of reminds me of that. Now, people are going to say, well, Tim, what's wrong with you, South Beach? But no, South Beach, all the buildings, at least on this section of Ocean Drive, all the buildings are opposite the waterfront. There's the street, and so in Haverhill, we could have the buildings on the north side of Merrimack Street, the street, and then, as they did in South Beach, you know, some playgrounds, some park areas, facing the ocean. But I guess you won't make any money with that plan, so...
You know, I especially like seeing the architecture of the bridge.
I have to admit, you're absolutely right. Seeing the Basilia Bridge from Merrimack Street is pretty impressive. Now, of course, a lot of people who are expecting a replacement bridge to be kind of modern, I think they're now going to champion to have this one repaired, because it really is impressive to see those towers from Merrimack. And what about from the other side, coming into Haverhill from Bradford? You know, I don't know that we've really paid attention to the old Pentucket Bank building in quite some time. I don't think you've ever been able to see the front of it as clearly as you can now coming over the bridge. Now, interestingly, that building is going to be demolished.
They've got two more to tear down, right?
Well, Pentucket, the old Pentucket Bank building, the kind of white marble-ish building, is going to come down. It's the building they put up, apparently a new facade over an old building back in 1960, and that building's going to come down for more parking. And Pentucket Bank, which uses it now for offices, will be moving those offices into Harbor Place. But there is one, you know, you're very perceptive. There's one building left on Merrimack Street. It looks like it was actually damaged by the demolition around it. Curious to see what happens with that. I don't know if the owner doesn't want to sell it or is playing hard to get a little more money. But that's the Leahy building, Northeast Behavioral Health, Leahy, whatever other names it might have used. So that we're going to be watching carefully. I think that's going to be the next news item.
Well, I hope people are taking photographs, because we're never going to see this in our time again.
No, you're absolutely right. Once those buildings go up again, you won't see those sites from the street. And then I suppose one might argue that, of course, the new buildings will have space behind them facing the river. so that they will look pretty good. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at WHAV.net, the news site, but we have a photograph today of or an architect's drawing today of the building that's being proposed for where Captain Chris was on Water Street. And the image is from the river side. And I have to say, that's a pretty impressive looking building as well. I think downtown is going to change, hopefully for the better. We've all seen it before where things happen and then new buildings don't go up and there are vacant lots. And I'm sure you remember everyone calling, where Market Basket is now the Dust Bowl. So, that'll be interesting to see. All right, Marcel?
I don't remember that. The Dust Bowl?
Oh, you don't remember that term?
No.
When they first took down all the buildings on Water Street during urban renewal, mid to late 60s, when they took all the buildings down and then took out the streets in between, the Moore Street and some of those others, Carlton Court, they thought all these developers were going to come and immediately put in the greatest shopping malls and so on in there, and no one came. And the wind just blew the dust around, and it was years before anything was built there. And then they got desperate, and they reduced their standards so that they took low-income housing, and there was federal money for nursing homes and senior housing, and then a strip plaza for Market Basket, or what was then Demoulas and Zaire department store. So maybe you remember those.
Well, I thought they were going to build a theater where Captain Chris used to be.
Oh, you're probably thinking of those drawings that Team Haverhill handed out. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, Team Haverhill, now I'm going to try to be as kind as I can. They had their possible dreams, but I think they were impossible schemes. They didn't own the land. They just had this idea for knocking down not only that area, but also the electric power station. Now, even urban renewal, with the millions of dollars in federal money that flooded Haverhill, could not afford to take out the power station there. So I'm afraid we won't see anything like that. Unless someone suddenly donates millions of dollars, which is not unheard of, I suppose.
Well,
but I know the drawing you mean. I don't have it handy, but I'd put it up on.
I remember we all said that at that time, that it was impossible, but...
Yeah, well, that was an amphitheater type thing, outdoor seating. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't think.
I'm getting a lot of static on this phone of mine that I got at Target.
Oh, I'm hearing it too, but I didn't know where it was coming from. All right, well, you got it at Target. It's probably made in China, right?
Yeah, they won't take it back.
That's the way of the world, and I think when we get the Trans-Pacific...
So. They have a 30-day window, and after that, you're stuck with it.
Well, we're going to have more of that if the Trans-Pacific Partnership passes the fast-track bill and Obama signs it. We're going to have more things made in China. It's hard to believe that there's almost nothing made here anymore, but I think it's only going to get worse. But now I'm straying into opinion. But well, Marcel, it is really good to hear from you.
Okay, I'll sign off.
And the birthday's in the hat, and we're going to go to news. So thank you very much. Take care. All right, Marcel with a phone from Target. Now, she didn't confirm it, but I can almost guarantee it came from some Pacific nation, and it'll probably last another hour or so, and we'll see what happens. But thank you, Marcel, for calling. All right, Chris has done just about everything to get my attention, and I have done what I always do, ignore him. But we are late for news, so I won't ignore him any longer because he might hit me. So let's go to local news with News Director Dana Esmel, national news from FSN, local weather, and we'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:05.
WHAV Merrimack Valley. WHAV is a not-for-profit service of Public Media of New England Incorporated. It's heard on 1640 AM, the web, at whav.net, and participating cable television stations.
Here's what's happening in local news. Temporary side street access restrictions to the Hunking School premises during construction of a new grades K-8 facility is among matters before the Haverhill City Council Tuesday night. A request by Superintendent James F. Scully and Police Chief Alan R. DeNaro, along with the Council's Traffic and Safety Committee, would immediately close the ends of Revere and Winchester Streets intersecting with the Hunking Access Road and bring concrete posts and chains painted yellow to be opened mornings and afternoons during bus arrivals and departures. The closures would be in effect until the anticipated June 2018 completion of the Hunking project. Quote, these actions are recommended due to the high rate of speed by residents and non-residents near school property, thus creating an extremely unsafe environment for students near the Hunking School, Scully said in a letter. Also on the agenda, a scheduled public hearing Tuesday night by the Haverhill City Council for a proposed 59-unit multifamily dwelling at 85 Water Street, the former Friends Landing site, is expected to be rescheduled to June 30th. Attorney Joseph P. Sullivan, representing applicant Frank Franzoni and Water Street Waterfront LLC, has requested a postponement to the council hearing. Meanwhile, Mayor James J. Fiorentini has requested to address the council regarding the new budget for the fiscal year, which begins on July 1st. The Haverhill City Council meets at 7 p.m. Tuesday in council chambers at Haverhill City Hall. Haverhill Fire Chief Richard B. Borden died Sunday afternoon at his home. Haverhill Police and Fire Departments responded to Borden's 46 Rosemary Avenue home at 3:30 p.m. after the 56-year-old was reported unresponsive. He, quote, was pronounced deceased at the scene of apparent natural causes, said Police Captain Robert P. Pistone. Quote, Fire Chief Richard Borden was a dedicated public servant who worked tirelessly for the city of Haverhill and will be missed by the people of Haverhill, said Haverhill Mayor James J. Fiorentini. Borden was a Haverhill firefighter since 1983, moving up the ranks to become lieutenant in 1987, deputy chief in 1994, senior deputy chief in 1999, and acting chief in 2005. He was officially appointed fire chief in May 2008 by Fiorentini. Quote, I have had the honor of working closely with Chief Borden over the last 4 years. He was a dedicated fire professional who was very proud of the Haverhill Fire Department and all it has accomplished under his tenure, said Police Chief and Public Safety Commissioner Alan R. DeNaro. His father, Richard H. Borden, also served as fire chief from 1986 to 1999. This is a developing story. More details will follow. A Haverhill man is due to be arraigned in district court on charges in connection with a disturbance early Saturday in the Washington Street Historic District. Haverhill Police report Miguel A. Gregorianis, 26 of Haverhill, was arrested at 1:05 a.m. Saturday at 100 Washington Street. He was charged with disorderly conduct, threatening, and resisting arrest. A New Hampshire man is due in court to face charges including larceny of a motor vehicle. According to Haverhill Police, Nathan R. Gaskill, 25 of East Kingston, New Hampshire, was arrested at 11:04 p.m. Saturday at 1 Main Street. Under an outstanding warrant, he was additionally charged with destruction of property over $250. In local high school sports, Haverhill Hillies girls softball action Monday as junior varsity and varsity teams host Greater Lowell Tech at Riverside Park. Tennis teams also in action Monday. The girls varsity team hosts Central Catholic High, while the boys team will square off against Lowell High School at 4 p.m. at Shed Park, Lowell. Boys and girls lacrosse teams also in action against Lowell High School at Trinity Stadium and in Lowell. For more details, visit WHAV.net. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Dana Esmail.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. European Union foreign and defense ministers meeting in Brussels have approved a plan to use military force to destroy the boats of migrant traffickers in the Mediterranean Sea. The controversial proposal is part of a wider EU agenda to tackle the growing migrants crisis as tens of thousands of people board flimsy boats hoping to reach EU shores. EU High Representative Federica Mogherini said the naval operation aims to launch in June and would be under the command of an Italian admiral based out of Rome. But first, the United Nations Security Council is set to weigh in on the plan. Nearly 2,000 migrants have drowned this year already. The U.S. State Department has described the fall of the Iraqi city of Ramadi to the Islamic State as a setback. The Iraqi government has scrambled to reinforce its positions in a bid to fend off the Islamic State assaults. But the loss of a strategic city just 70 miles west of Baghdad has dealt a significant blow to U.S. and Iraqi efforts to battle the group's territorial gains. U.S. State Department spokesperson Jeff Rathke.
We've always known that the fight would be long and difficult, especially in Anbar province. And so there's no denying that this is a setback, but there's also no denying that the United States will help the Iraqis take back Ramadi.
Nearly 200 people have been arrested in Texas after a shootout between rival motorbike gangs killed 9 people and injured 18 others. At least one person has been charged with murder, and the authorities in Texas say more arrests will soon be made. Our U.S. correspondent Simon Marks reports.
The Twin Peaks restaurant in Waco is now closed as the investigation gets underway. A fistfight in the bathroom ended up as a gunfight in the car park between the Bandido and Cossack motorbike gangs. Police Sergeant Patrick Swanton.
192 individuals are being booked. They are all being charged with engaging in organized crime.
And that's just the start. More arrests are expected.
It's the first official day of Parliament since Prime Minister David Cameron's Conservative Party won the UK general election. In his first major speech since the victory, Mr. Cameron announced plans to transform hospital and doctor's surgery care in Britain. Our UK correspondent Natalie Powell has more.
Mr. Cameron is making good on pre-election promises to increase National Health Service budgets. The Conservative Party plans to create a 7-day NHS service by extending GP opening hours. David Cameron also plans to recruit an extra 5,000 GPs. However, these proposals have come under heavy criticism. The British Medical Association has said the government has not yet explained how it would find additional care at a time of chronic doctor shortages. Natalie Powell, London.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. We're going to head through tonight with more and more clouds and maybe a shower toward daybreak. I don't think we're going to see too much rain tonight. Temperature's going to be in the upper 40s. Tuesday, though, we'll see some showers, possibly a thunderstorm. It'll be breezy with a high in the upper 60s as the cold front comes through. Showers and thunderstorms early Tuesday night should taper off and then late at night. The low in the mid-50s. It'll be breezy, too. Sunny and breezy Wednesday, upper 60s. Mostly sunny and 70 Thursday. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
This spot could have been yours. Support WHAV's local approach with your underwriting. Go to WHAV.net and click on Support to reach thousands of new customers.
WHAV, Merrimack Valley, open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show. This hour of Open Mic is being brought to you by Haverhill Bank. Just one bank. In the studio now, Greg Caliri. Now, you're going to hear all about what he's up to right now, but I just want to pass along to anyone who hasn't heard me say this before. But Greg, and he just helped me with my memory. Greg and his wife and Brian, the Lieutenant Langlois, and his wife were 4 people who fought to keep WHAV in Haverhill in 1995.
It was 95.
And, wow, 20 years.
That's right. It's been 20 years.
Hard to believe. So it's taking us 20 years to get HAV back. But in any event, Greg, welcome back to the Open Mic Show.
Thank you, Tim.
Now, you are working on some exciting project. Is that right?
I think it's exciting. I'm a volunteer, and I'm here kind of representing myself, but in a sense, I'm one of the volunteer leaders on the called the VOLT team, Volunteer Leadership Team, for Boston 2024. And if you've read any of the newspapers of late, you'll know that Boston was selected by the United States Olympic Committee back in January as America's choice to host the 2024 Olympic Games. And right now, we have a huge team. There's not only a huge team of people behind the scenes, a lot of civic leaders, a lot of former Olympians, movers and shakers. You've seen that they've added, just recently, JoJo White and Larry Bird were added to the committee, but there's a lot more than that. The Boston 2024 organization is rather large. And and as far as volunteers, of which I'm one of the, I don't know how many there are, I think 60 or 70 leaders, we just signed up our 2024th volunteer.
Oh, really?
Last week. And
2024 volunteers.
Well, there are more because we've had events, and what we're doing now is going out. My project is, what I'm working on is spread the word.
Let me ask you this. How did you get involved? I mean, you just read about it and went to a meeting, or what happened?
Well, way back when, in 1960, when I was an 8-year-old boy, I watched the first Olympics that were televised live in the United States. Those are the 1960 Winter Olympics at Squaw Valley, California. And you might remember some names from this area, Penny Patu being one, who later was the skiing director at Gunstock. She was a silver medalist in those games for skiing. Wow. And I always followed the Olympics, the winter and the summer games.
I think a lot of people here are going to be surprised that you were old enough to have been involved in watching those.
Oh, yeah.
And you're doing a good job, whatever you're doing.
And in 1976 came along. I missed Montreal. I didn't get to go because life got in the way. I was a young fellow starting my computer career, and I just couldn't take the time. And in 1980, Lake Placid, my wife and I, the Winter Games were up there. My wife and I would have gone, except our daughter was 3 years old at the time. And we were actually offered jobs, not with anybody from the Olympics, but with a communications company to go up there and work for the 2 weeks. And it would have been very interesting. It would have been a lot of fun, but we just couldn't do it. And I didn't get to Los Angeles in '84, but when Atlanta was given the games, my wife and I decided, we're going to go. This is unequivocal, hands down. 6 years from now, we are going to be spending a week or week and a half in Atlanta.
You finally had your chance after all those years.
And I can tell you, for anybody, if you have never been to the Olympic Games as a spectator, it's the experience of a lifetime, because you're not only meeting people from all over the world, you're seeing a world event unfold. And my wife and I left Atlanta in July of '96 to come home. We got in the car and drove home, and the first thing we said, they did a great job. We can do this, and we can do it better than they did.
You were thinking about it back then?
Oh, yes. And then
29 years ago.
Yes.
Wow.
And there were also, before that, there had been a small effort before Atlanta was granted the games. If Atlanta were turned down, there was a committee in the Boston area that was proposing putting in a bid for 2000.
Now, is this something you were aware of at the time, or you've learned since?
Yes. No, I was aware of it at the time. And when it came the United States' turn, and the 4 cities put in bids, in a sense I was rather pleasantly shocked when they chose Boston over the other 3 cities. But then thinking about it, all the things that I had thought about, this winter notwithstanding, there's a public transportation system that
I see, yes.
works fairly well. I I think part of it is just personally speaking, the legend of Tom Menino in the last 20 years, the Boston area. We've gone from we can't do anything, we always get on our way, to we get things done.
Can-do attitude.
Can-do attitude. It's very positive. Some people in this area don't have a can-do attitude, but I think if you view it from outside, people who view Boston from the outside do view it with a can-do attitude.
Well, you know what's funny? We have to take a break, but before we do that, that kind of describes Haverhill too, doesn't it? A lot of people from outside often see the potential that maybe us jaded insiders don't see.
I agree with that. I have to agree with that.
All right. Chris, why don't we take a break for Community Spotlight? And we'll be back. And when we come back, I want Chris to zoom the camera in on Greg's T-shirt. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show in just a minute.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
This is Pacifica Radio for the Merrimack Valley, WHAV.
Community Spotlight is brought to you by Haverhill Bank. Haverhill Bank is a generous supporter of the area's civic and cultural programs.
All it takes is just one bank. Haverhill Bank. Community Spotlight.
The Breakfast Exchange Club of Greater Haverhill is having a Walk to Rock scavenger hunt and party May 30th in downtown Haverhill. Proceeds will go to heating assistance for the elderly in the Haverhill area. The goal is to raise at least $15,000 and heat 50 homes. Registration begins at 4 p.m. on the upper parking deck across from Kentucky Medical. The scavenger hunt is followed by entertainment at the Tap Restaurant, 99 Washington Street. The party begins at the Tap at 7 p.m. Tickets are $40 each, including the scavenger hunt and party, or $30 each for the party only. Contact breakfastexchangeclub@gmail.com to purchase. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Sarah Teaser.
WHAV. Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. This hour of Open Mic being brought to you by Haverhill Bank, just one bank. All right, Chris is zooming in on some of the, what would be a good term, swag,
Yes,
perhaps?
that'd be a good term. Yeah.
So I'm wearing my glasses, and there is Greg's T-shirt, Boston 2024. And he's certainly in the spirit. Now, did you have to buy that or make it yourself?
No, because I'm a volunteer. If you volunteer, you'll get it. If you volunteer to join the volunteer leadership, and you can volunteer at 2024boston.org.
Okay, let's do that again. So if you want some swag, you're going to email.
Well, you volunteer at 2024boston.org. It's reversed, 2024boston.org, and we'll contact you and invite you to volunteer and show up at an event where we spread the word. And if you are on the volunteer team, you'll get a T-shirt. We had, I've already volunteered for, I think, three events thus far.
And you've got one coming up, too, is that right?
We have one coming up this next Sunday in Haverhill. I'm scheduled to put up a table and hand
right
out...
here in Haverhill. Now, we heard of one in Lawrence a couple of weeks ago. Is that right?
Right. Well, that was a community organization meeting, and there's going to be one in Salem, Massachusetts this Thursday night.
All right, so why don't we, let's take this and let's do, Chris, did you put yourself on camera? We want to show everyone with the swag here. All right, we have a little delay from the system. All right, so, oh, there he is. See, these glasses make everyone look like, they haven't gone Hollywood, they've gone Boston 2024.
Definitely.
And right on the side there, with the hashtag,
Yes,
Boston 2024. 2024boston.org. Can never forget with that.
And you can also connect on Facebook, like the Boston Olympic Organizing Committee. Boston 2024 is on Facebook.
Another place you can go, Facebook. Okay, now let's look at some of these events. So tell us what's happening in Haverhill and when?
Well, on Sunday, as we said, volunteer. We like to go out to athletic events to involve people of all age groups. We just had one in Epping, New Hampshire, Saturday. My wife and I went to that. And this coming Sunday, there's the Baldy 5-mile run that is going to be taking place in downtown Haverhill, scheduled to take place. At least that's what I was told. I believe it's at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to be down there setting up a table. And, oh, yeah, if you come by, some of this wonderful swag, decal is backwards. You come by my table.
Decal, glasses.
I'll be glad to give that to you. But what we're looking for is to spread the word and also to inform people we're out there. And
now, where might they find the table? Do you have a location?
I don't know as yet. Wherever they tell me to put it.
Where is it? Washington Street, Washington Square, that area?
I don't know the exact street.
All right, so folks, you're going to see a lot of people running around in shorts. Go in that direction.
Yeah, it's coming. It's leaving downtown. I think a couple blocks east of the. That was the address I was given. A couple blocks east of the train station, but it's going to take place down there.
Oh, all right. So east of the train station, that puts us in Washington Street, Washington Square, maybe.
Yep.
Railroad Square.
Somewhere around there.
If you're real close. So listen, it certainly won't be hard to miss, especially, maybe we'll have a sunny day, and you'll see all these people wearing these sunglasses.
After they visit the booth, I'm sure you will see some people, especially the youngsters, visiting.
Now, what do you hope to get? Names on sheets to volunteer, or emails, or phone numbers? What are you hoping to get?
Well, there are
Sunday?
Three things that would like. Of course, we always are looking for volunteers because we have plenty of volunteer opportunities. As summer arises, this comes up, there are going to be a lot of athletic events taking place. Month of June is Olympic month. Would love to get into the schools, and I'm sure Boston 2024 would love to send some representatives out. They are already doing that in the schools.
Wow, we have seniors graduating soon. I would think you're going to have more time than normal available thanks to the winter we had.
Yeah.
But maybe Superintendent Scully, are you listening? Here's a gentleman who'd like to talk to the students about Boston 2024. I know you listen, so keep that in mind.
Yes, and also my father is not doing well, Mr. Scully, but he says hello.
All right, so you even got a personal message there. That's great. All right. So what would a volunteer do once they've signed up?
Well, some of the things we've been doing is we've gone to different events, and we'll set up a table. And for the present, we're signing up volunteers to go out and spread the word, the good word about what effects this can have. I like to think of myself, yes, I'm a volunteer leader, but I like to talk. But
we'll give you a microphone.
You've got one right here. I've got one right here. Yeah, I was just rehearsing the legal before 97.9.
Oh, okay, great.
97.9 WHAV-LP, Haverhill, Service of Public Media of New England.
Perfect.
But anyway, going through, one of the things is I like to volunteer because I view it as a civic obligation. This is something that I think is going to benefit not just me. I'm retiring. It's going to get sometime in the next few years. It's going to give me an opportunity to do something in retirement. But it's a goal. It would be one of my lifelong goals to see the Olympic torch lit. I have one grandchild and another one on the way, and that's what I said. I have another one on the way.
Wonderful.
They will be My granddaughter will be, 12 years old, and my grandson will be 9 or so. If the Olympics do come to Boston, I would love nothing more than him sitting next to me as the Olympic torch is lit in the stadium. That's what I look for, because that's one of the things. You have your dreams, your bucket lists, things you want to do in life. I've been to an Olympics already, been to an Olympic opening ceremony in Atlanta, but I would love to see it come here.
Oh.
Not just for that, I want to welcome people to the world to Haverhill.
Yeah, we have 1 minute before break. I'm going to ask if you're willing to stay for another segment. But what kinds of, and we'll expand on this after the weather. Mm-hmm. What are the pluses, in a nutshell, of bringing the Olympics to Boston? What are the pluses for a place like Haverhill?
Well, got a whole sheet of talking points, but I'll speak from the heart. But the advantage, the hotels, bringing people to the city, the restaurants, even the downtown restaurants, I predict would be filled just as they were. I think what was the year we had, 96 it was, when they had 100,000 entrants in the Boston Marathon, and the hotels here in Haverhill were filled. And our restaurants would, just think of 2 weeks of that. I think that would be remarkable.
That makes sense. I've said this before on the air. Maybe I said it to you. But those of us who are looking for cheap hotels when we travel, we go to hotels.com and some of the others. And here's a good example. We have the Boston Wyndham Andover, or is it Andover, Wyndham, whatever it is, but they put Boston in their name. So a lot of tourists will say, oh, that must be close, and they do that. And I know myself, I have been at least 30 miles away from my destination when going to conventions and so on, but it's not a big deal. You're traveling. And so you're thinking some of this might come to the Best Western or the Hampton Inn.
Or the new hotel that's supposedly being
Road.
planned, and other hotels. I know you're reaching out into other communities. Their hotels out in 95, I'm sure they're going to be filled up for the Olympics. Whether any events come up here or not.
These people go back to their hotels and want to find a nice place to eat. They might come to Haverhill. So you're seeing this as, unfortunately, the term has probably been betrayed over the years, but sort of a trickle-down economic effect.
I like to say a spread out, an outreach effect.
Better than trickle down. That has a bad connotation.
And there are other things, too. We can talk about that.
Only a minute late for weather. Chris is not too red-faced. All right, let's go to local weather with our own meteorologist in the Merrimack Valley. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show and Greg Caliri talking about Boston 2024.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:33.
Phil Christie here. Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Catch the wave!
Here, don't forget your free ticket to the biggest theater in the world. Your seat is reserved for Modern Theater of the Mind every Tuesday night. WHAV presents Radio Theater Project, a new anthology series of comedies, dramas, mysteries, and science fiction. Tune in every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. or the encore performance at 1 a.m. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Wave weather!
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. We're going to head through tonight with more and more clouds and maybe a shower toward daybreak. I don't think we're going to see too much rain tonight. Temperature's going to be in the upper 40s. Tuesday, though, we'll see some showers, possibly a thunderstorm. It'll be breezy with a high in the upper 60s as the cold front comes through. Showers and thunderstorms early Tuesday night should taper off, and then late at night, below in the mid-50s. It'll be breezy, too. Sunny and breezy Wednesday, upper 60s, mostly sunny and 70 Thursday. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents The Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
This hour of the Open Mic Show is being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. And you know, that's a great segue. Economic benefits, what we're talking about right now. And Greg, you mentioned you went to the is it an organizing event in Lawrence recently?
I didn't go. I was out of town.
Oh, all
but
right.
I did catch it. It's still online. So I did catch it. And one of the things that Mayor Rivera was there. And Nico Mendoza was leading the meeting. She's one of the organizers, one of the key organizers. And Peter Manfredi was there, or David Peter Manfredi was there as well. And one of the things that was stressed was, will any Olympic events actually come to Lawrence? And there really aren't any facilities there that could host them, at least at this time. But talking about the cultural aspects and the business aspects, Lawrence being an ethnic city, certainly there would be benefits to them. Would there be benefits to us here in Haverhill? For our hotels were filled, like I mentioned, I think it was 96 when there were, I think, 50,000-60,000 people in the Boston Marathon. They expanded the field. Our hotels were full. People ate. I saw a lot of guys carbo loading up at Papagino's on Saturday night.
Okay.
And you mentioned about people staying on the outside of town. When we were in Atlanta, I stayed 30 miles outside of town, just north of Alpharetta. 2 weeks ago, my wife and I went to the Kentucky Derby, which was another bucket list thing. And we stayed 23 miles outside of town because the hotel room was only $200 a night out there, and it was $1,000 a night in Louisville. So
I understand fully.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm one of those who've done hotels.com just to
Yes.
save the money, and those are usually 20, 30 miles away. But, you know, you're on vacation anyway, you're out there for an event, you just, what's that, a half hour's travel time at most.
Yes.
And then, now, you started a conversation, I believe, talking maybe half-jokingly about transportation issues this past winter. Do you see that the Commonwealth would invest in infrastructure and leave behind perhaps a much improved Amtrak or MBTA rail system, or how do you think that'll play out?
This isn't a Boston 2024 thing. I'm speaking only from my own experience. And one of the things that they are saying, though, is that having a goal is a catalyst to get things done. For instance, if you're going to have a wedding at home or in the backyard, you're going to get the windows cleaned, you're going to get the shutters fixed, you're going to have the lawn mowed before.
Maybe do some painting, replace some of those.
Yes. You're going to get everything taken care of before the event or a graduation, whatever. Everything, you're going to try to get as many of these things taken care of.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be an incidental benefit.
And the other thing that I see and I think that's one thing, there is a catalyst. I think that would be a catalyst to get the MBTA up to date. I'm hoping, because I'm seeing there's funding in the pipeline that I see, and I think that'll be a catalyst to get it done. That's my personal opinion, not a Boston 2024 opinion.
And I understand that, and I think listeners understand that. Well, the governor has rather amazingly cleared that board.
Yes.
They didn't have to resign, and this is the way the system works, so that no one governor can take control in a short time, but he did.
Yep.
So perhaps we'll see some improvements. But I believe your cohort in the fight to save WHAV is on the line.
Oh, you want me to?
So why don't we put that on? Oh, you've got him. All right.
Okay.
Chris wants to control the audio, so you'll be able to hear him, all right?
Through the headphones, or?
Yes. Yeah, because I'm going to mute here. So, is this the lieutenant?
Yes, it is.
All right, it's the lieutenant. You're,
Greg doesn't know me as lieutenant. Hi, Greg.
Hi, this is the captain.
Okay.
Well, he does now.
Rank me.
Not really. No one can trump you, Brian.
Well, I'm wondering about Like, I remember a golf, I don't remember what event it was, several years ago, and we had hotels all full up here from some, I guess, nationally known, maybe internationally, I don't know. And we had both hotels booked solid. Mm-hmm. And I wonder about the hotel prices. Will they be lower, higher, in the middle, or the farther away you are from the action, the better the price?
Well, the further away you are from the action, the price would be lower. It would be lower than a hotel room in the Back Bay, I would hope.
But I'm guessing the price will be higher than normal.
It might be.
So
I know, like in Boston, the prices are pretty high anyway. So
yes,
I wonder with the volume that they'll be dealing with, what that would be like.
I think it'll be extensive, and it'll also be dependent on where the events are held. For instance, Lowell, there's been heavy discussion of at least two major sporting events being held at Lowell, the University of Lowell, UMass Lowell. The Tsongas Center, there has been Senator Eileen Donoghue from Lowell that has talked about boxing and rowing on the Merrimack River down by Lowell. Whether that will take place or not, we have to wait for the final plan, but the meeting I went to in Lowell, the community meeting I attended there, they were very much discussing that. So I think we're going to get some of that spillover too.
Here's while you're both here, here's a comment we just received, WHAV.net. This listener says and then I'm going to give you a chance to respond. The benefits to Haverhill are negligible. The train bridge will still be under advisement, meaning autos into Boston and back. The hotels are small, highway-oriented, and nowhere near the, quote, restaurant row. Only dining establishments that will benefit are the Dunkin' Donuts and the fast food joints at Westgate Plaza. What would you say to that?
I would say think outside the box. What I would do, if we're as a resident of Haverhill, if Boston is fortunate enough to win the bid, the IOC says it's Boston that morning, City Hall Plaza, you're all welcome to join me. There'll be a big screen there, and if they come out and say the International Olympic Committee has awarded the games to the city of Boston, you can celebrate with me. I never did bring the bottle of champagne down when they knocked down the Woolworth building.
Oh, okay.
I've still got it for that morning. Come and join me. But I would hope that if this does happen, there will be an awareness among our city government, our civic leaders here, and there certainly will be. Would it be too much to ask if we ran, let's say, a bus shuttle service from those hotels to the train station during the Olympics to schlep people from the 2 and soon-to-be 3 hotels over to the Haverhill train station or the Bradford train station? These are the ideas that have to come up in discussion in the communities. So I think I don't see that as being an obstacle. I see it as something, a little bit of a challenge we can overcome, and it'll benefit everybody.
You raise a good point, and maybe this is not in your official capacity.
It is not.
But in your unofficial capacity, do you see yourself maybe involving people like Brian, who's on the line, going to City Hall and clearing some of the obstacles that might impede full economic benefit of this event?
Yes. You mean obstacles in terms of ADA type of obstacles? I see that as well.
I was thinking mostly political, but
political,
ADA may
yes.
be ADA may be a really valid one.
Politics.
No, because if you get the Olympics, you also get the Paralympics, which come up a month later. And that's also a side benefit, so I wanted to mention that.
Oh, interesting point.
I do see an obstacle if the IOC says yes. I think every community in eastern Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire will be alerted to the fact that these are opportunities that we have to take advantage of. And also take advantage of the opportunity to welcome people from all over the world to.
No, the shuttle makes a lot of sense even without the Olympics. Maybe someday we'll have Joe Costanzo from the Merrimack Valley Regional Transit Authority on, although I bet Brian knows this already. Is there a regular shuttle service of any kind between, say, 495 and the train station downtown, Brian?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, so not that you're aware of. There have been some improvements lately. The mayor has urged, and apparently successfully, that beginning in September, the buses will run every hour instead of every hour and a half. So that'll improve things. We now have Sunday service that we never had before. So it's not.
Well, we have had buses every 45 minutes in the past.
Oh, we have.
Yeah.
Oh, so you mean we're going back to an improvement? See, I haven't followed it that closely, Brian. That's interesting that you tell us that. So,
well, I'm going back because I haven't really made use of them in quite a while. But yeah, there's Sunday service now, which is cool, and I like that.
I also like the idea too of getting the hotels. I can't speak for Days Inn or Best Western, but I would think it would be in their best interest to
a shuttle from Haverhill directly into Boston.
Right,
too.
and that's another thing as well.
Yeah, or at least to Malden or
Malden or
to the Orange Line. That makes sense.
The Orange Line to Oak Grove or to Sullivan Square. Yeah, and I think a lot of opportunities for gypsy cab drivers. Although I'm not going to recommend that. But
yeah, not to mention Uber.
Well, you said it. I didn't.
Hey, that just. You bring selfish interest to mind, so I'm going to put on my other hat as president of the John Greenleaf Whittier birthplace. I suppose some people coming back to their Haverhill hotel rooms might want to learn about our local history, and if we could flood those hotels with our brochures and our memorabilia, maybe there's some other tie-ins that would help local groups.
Sure, you're not going to go to events you're not going to go to Olympic events. You probably won't be going to them every single day. I know when I was down in Atlanta, we took some time, day or two, during I think we were there for 10 days. We took a day or two and went off and did other things.
No, that makes sense.
Likewise, last weekend when I was in Louisville, I was there for 5 days, and I spent, 4 days, and I spent 1 day, instead of going into Louisville, I took a trip down the Bourbon Trail. I went and did something else.
I don't suppose, I imagine it's too soon, and it may be that we could never know this anyway. But is there a profile of the average visitor to an Olympics game, Olympics event? And the reason I ask this is because David Goudsworth may have made one good point in his email, and that is the chains like Dunkin' Donuts. I have to admit, I went to Paris a few years ago, and I wanted to dine locally and act like a local.
Yep.
Believe it or not, there were people in my party who said, "Oh, there's a McDonald's," and I'm thinking, "What?" I won't name any names, but you know who you are. So, I suppose there's just no possible way to have an archetype of the tourists, but I would hope that they don't just go to the chains.
Tourists are very savvy. People who are world travelers usually are savvy and investigate in advance what are the great places to eat. When I was down in Louisville just last week, I can give you an example. I ate at a Cattleman restaurant, which is not a chain but a local Cattleman Roadhouse, and that was good. And then also I ate at Claudia Sanders' house, which was Claudia Sanders was the wife of Harlan Sanders, and they served Kentucky Fried Chicken, but not under the name Kentucky Fried Chicken, but a lot of other southern delicacies. And I sought that out. I wasn't going to go eat at McDonald's or
exactly.
I do, but I wasn't going to dwell.
See,
on
I
that.
agree with you. That's why I try not to be a tourist when I travel, because frankly it costs more, and you miss out on some of the best features of traveling.
Oh, when I was in Paris, 14, 15 years ago, I sought out. I stayed away from the fancy places, and I had one of the best meals that I ever had in my life there. So,
did you notice more advertising, like Greg, in Louisville?
Yes.
Is that the right town?
Louisville, Kentucky. Yes.
So
local establishments.
Yes.
That would make known to people that are not from the area, although those places are well established, been there forever.
But they'll read the tour books and TripAdvisor, and they'll know where to go.
Yeah.
And I imagine the savvier businesses, and maybe we can help them with this, will learn how to get onto the social media a little better than they're doing right now. Make sure they get listed and reviewed in the Yelps and the Cheap Eats and the Boston Globe and that kind of thing. And maybe learn how to market and promote themselves so that'll be a longer-term benefit. Yeah. So that may very well be. And it's just kind of like what Greg said earlier. You're having the wedding at your house, you realize those shutters should be painted, maybe get some fertilizer on the lawn and get some weed killer out, things you should have been doing anyway, and you make for a much better impression that lasts a lot longer than just that wedding, or in this case, just that Olympic event. Yes. All right, Brian, anything else on your mind?
No, I just thought I'd contribute, except to remind you, Tim.
Yes, what am I forgetting now?
Oh, you're not forgetting it necessarily. I'm just reminding you that this is the night that you draw for the cake.
Is it?
You want next Monday off, don't you?
Oh, see, we need people like Brian. So we're going to draw the cake winner tonight because we have next week
you
off.
can take next Monday off if you like.
And if we didn't take it off, we'd be preempted anyway. You are very good, Brian. See what we need people like Brian.
Yeah, I like cake. What can I say?
Well, that's true. That's true. And yeah, we're finally catching up. Hey, was it the person you nominated last time that won? Fran? Was Fran yours?
It's been a while.
Well, we're finally getting around to mailing them tonight. So,
I don't remember, but
right.
I know back in for the February birthdays, my candidate won.
All right. Yeah, I know. Your odds, they tend to run against you, but you at least get one in a year, I think.
Yeah, well, we got a short month so far as Mondays go, so we shall see.
Oh, that's
I know
good.
Marcel just called in another one. So.
Oh, that reminds me. We want to give this credit to Chris and Master Control, but there's a person in this very room, and it's not me, who's having a birthday in June. Is that right, Greg?
That is correct.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Greg.
And I've forgotten all about that, Greg.
Yep.
What's that?
I would have put it in.
All right.
It's already in.
It's now in. It's now official.
Now in, huh?
All right, so you have some competition for your nominee. All right, I'll tell you what. We're going to have to take a break this hour. We have Take Two movie review, and we'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show. And thank you, Brian, for reminding me about the cake contest.
And you gentlemen, have a good evening.
Yep. Thank you, Brian. All right, let's go to a brief break. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show in just a second.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Merrimack Valley Happenings is your weekly guide to economic news and cultural events. It's a quick read about local business, the economy, and higher education. It also features an all-in-one calendar of business, cultural, and recreational events. View Merrimack Valley Happenings online or sign up for a weekly email at merrimackvalley.info.
Catch the wave!
On air or online, WHAV serves you. All day long, keep up to date with tenacious but objective local reporting from the only Haverhill-based news source. Find out about civic and charitable events on Community Spotlight every quarter hour, and better prepare with WAVE weather heard every 30 minutes. For talk, there's Tom Hartman weekdays at noon, the Open Mic Show every Monday night, and David Packman Tuesday through Friday nights. And there's more. Hear classic comedy and drama 7 nights a week at 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Finally, a unique blend of soft gold music radiates day and night. Only local radio can bring you this combination of music, news, and features, but only WHAV does.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. This week, Literate Mayhem. By now, the folks at Marvel have got it down. A storyline with an apocalyptic threat, respectable character development and interaction, usually some reflection on humanity, and of course lots of stuff blowing up. The Avengers Age of Ultron doesn't break this mold. The collaborating Marvel heroes are together again to fight Hydra and their leader, Baron von Strucker, who's been experimenting on humans with material from an extraterrestrial scepter, managing to create two villains with Avenger-like powers. Meanwhile, hero Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, has a secret project to remove the Avengers from world guardianship using an artificial intelligence resident in a jewel from the scepter. The AI is Ultron, who promptly turns on Strucker, allies himself with Strucker's creations, and then proceeds to run amok, believing that the only way to create peace on Earth is to eliminate humanity. The heroes disagree about the Ultron project and Tony's secretive methods in general. One line you're supposed to remember from one of the crew to Tony is, once you start trying to prevent the next war, that's when people start to die. This kind of wisdom in the discussion of moral dilemmas helped develop the characters and elevate the story. The A-list cast, from the wisecracking Robert Downey Jr., who's in a majority of the scenes, to Samuel L. Jackson, whose Nick Fury is seen only briefly, do yeoman's work. The golden-throated James Spader steals the show as the perfect villain, Ultron. If there's a weakness in Joss Whedon's The Avengers Age of Ultron, it may be that it's a bit busy with subplot machinations, including an in-school relationship between two of the heroes. If you're a fan, though, better get your fill now. You'll have to wait until 2018 for the next scheduled installment. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. Catch up with us at Take2MovieReview.com and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Take2_Review.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show. This hour of Open Mic being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. You know, during the break, we only have about 4 minutes left, if I keep my schedule. We were talking about, what was the line you just said? It's not just for the rich?
Oh, no. They're going, well, not only will there be volunteer opportunities, which enables you to see more than you would as a paying spectator.
But that's an interesting
another thing is, yeah.
Bonus.
If you're willing to volunteer, you might get to see some events or meet some Olympians. But the big thing is, everybody was saying, how can anybody afford this? How can anybody afford to go? I looked at the prices for Rio de Janeiro, which next Olympics are going to be held there in 2016. There are 7.7 million tickets to all the events, if you consider the preliminaries for soccer, for field hockey, for basketball, whatever. Half of the tickets are priced under $30 US. Half of the 3.8 million of those tickets are under 30. You can go to the Rio website, under $30. A great deal of them are under $20. When I went to the Olympics in Atlanta, I went to events for as little as $7 or $8. If I recall, I saw Dream Team basketball for $11. I saw a basketball doubleheader at Morehouse College, which was an experience for $12. So
interesting.
There is something for every budget.
That's interesting. Well, actually, as much as you mentioned Rio, I suspect I'm going to that.
Okay.
Only because my spouse is very proud that Brazil is going to be hosting, so I suspect I'll be there.
That's good.
So that may be, and maybe there's going to be a few people coming here for those reasons as well, for some connection like that. And then, and you mentioned when you were in Atlanta, there were some things as low as $7 or something like that?
Oh, yes. Yep. When they had baseball, they don't know if it's going to be added to the Olympic agenda again. But there are some very low-priced events. And
Very good.
Something for everybody.
Where can we leave listeners? I see you have I don't know if it's a cheat sheet or a sign-up sheet or what.
I have a sign-up sheet, and if you come down to the run on Sunday and see me, not only will you fill out one of these, but you'll also get a pair of these.
See, folks?
See, yeah, they won't fit over mine. But you get a pair of these sunglasses, every kid.
Our radio listeners can't tell how goofy we look.
Yes, but last Saturday we gave out a couple hundred pairs of these, and every kid up at that soccer-thon was wearing these glasses. But you can also sign up to volunteer at 2024boston.org. And you can volunteer, just get on the emailing list to find out what is there. The website is www.2024boston.org. It's reversed. And you can, opportunities to volunteer, or just get on the email list and see what is happening. And you'd be kind of amazed at the events around here where we're going to have a presence. Spreading the word.
So the website, 2024Boston, one word, .com. I'm going to keep it here. .org. See how easy it is to...
It's an org.
It's an org. Believe it or not, we actually own, and it's usable, WHAV.org, but we never promote it, but we do that. So 2024boston.org. And what was the email address?
Volunteer.
Singular.
Yep, one word, at 2024boston.org. And there's also hashtag @ on Twitter, Boston 2024. And you can certainly find the Facebook page, Boston 2024.
Now, for those people in our audience that may not be internet enabled, are there any phone numbers or?
Ooh, interesting. I don't know if there are. I don't have a phone number. I do have it. But
maybe if you look at Boston 20, well, I guess.
Well, if you don't have internet, but yes, I can give you a phone number. Here we go.
We have a phone number, okay.
It's 617-960-0350.
All right, I'm glad I asked. So
it's on the bottom here. I brought the wrong sheet in, and the number is at the bottom of it.
Well, for those of you who are don't have internet access or like the comfort of a phone, 617-960-0350. 50.
Right.
50. Yep. And then we'll keep this information in the studio, so if you've been traveling in the car or something and you couldn't write it down, we'll have it handy. Feel free to call the Open Mic Show. Chris will give it to you, 978-374-1900. I'll announce it again before the end of the show. And this is a ha-ha to Chris. I'm 2 minutes late for news. So let's, Greg, thank you very much for coming out. And thank you for coming out, even though I apparently ignored you, and I didn't intend to.
No, it's okay. Things happen. Things happen.
So we'll see what happens.
And I'll see if I will leave one of these here with that.
Oh, good. That'll even help. And then perhaps, since you've alerted us, we'll see if we can get some. We did this during the kind of the Hollywood setup. Get some audio downtown this weekend.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to go to local news with News Director Dana Esmel, national news from FSN, and then local weather. We'll be right back.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8:03.
WHAV Merrimack Valley. WHAV is a not-for-profit service of Public Media of New England, Incorporated. It's heard on 1640 AM, the web, at whav.net, and participating cable television stations.
Here's what's happening in local news. The Haverhill City Council is asked to approve an agreement to purchase power from a proposed solar array on a capped portion of the former Bradford landfill. Mayor James J. Fiorentini has recommended councilors pass an order Tuesday night allowing the city to enter a power purchase agreement with SunEdison as part of a plan to construct a nearly 2,136 kilowatt solar energy array on the Groveland Road site. The agreement, a financial component to a request for proposal by the city, which, quote, calls for the city to purchase net metering credits, currently valued at 18.5 cents per kilowatt hour, for 8 cents per kilowatt hour, this resulting in a net benefit to the city of 10.5 cents per kilowatt hour, according to Orlando Pacheco, purchasing director and energy manager. Quote, the price for the city will increase 1% per year over the 20-year life of the agreement. Given the value of net metering credit should rise beyond the 1% over that same 20-year period, the city is in a favorable position on this transaction, Pacheco said. A special conditions provision calls for SunEdison to construct, own, operate, and maintain a solar energy system qualifying as a net metering facility. Construction would begin 300 days after approval and be in operation by September 2016. Among other things, the company would also spend up to $5,000 to help the city in, quote, designing and installing a kiosk for educational purposes. However, at the city's request, technicians would be available at their, quote, standard hourly rates to answer questions or otherwise facilitate educational efforts, end quote. The Haverhill City Council meets at 7 p.m. Tuesday in council chambers at Haverhill City Hall. A New Hampshire man is due in court to face charges including larceny of a motor vehicle. According to Haverhill Police, Nathan R. Gaskill, 25, of East Kingston, New Hampshire, was arrested at 11:04 p.m. Saturday at 1 Main Street. Under an outstanding warrant, he was additionally charged with destruction of property over $250. Two people arrested separately by Haverhill Police over the weekend on fugitive from justice charges are due to appear in district court. According to police, Rocky A. Cody, 32, of Haverhill, was arrested at 1:45 p.m. Saturday at River and Hall Streets. He was charged with operating a motor vehicle without a license and with being a fugitive from justice in Rhode Island. On Friday, police arrested Timothy Stewart, 42, of Salem, New Hampshire, at 6:09 p.m. at 138 South Elm Street on a warrant charging him with being a fugitive from justice. A local accountant has purchased the fifth and top floor of the planned Harbor Place commercial building at the corner of Main and Merrimack Street. It was one of the final pieces necessary to guarantee construction of the building that will sit in place of the former F.W. Woolworths. Randall Bennett of Randall Bennett & Company, P.C., 109 Washington Street, signed replica closing documents Friday along with representatives of Pentucket Bank, who will occupy the fourth floor, UMass Lowell, which will lease the second and third floors, and Haverhill Community Television, which purchased a first-floor corner condominium. Representative Brian S. Dempsey commended the Greater Haverhill Foundation for its vision in buying the former Woolworths. He also said the foundation's arrangements with the Boston Archdiocese's Public Office of Urban Affairs is, quote, truly a terrific partnership.
That was a great board of directors stepping up, investing in our city, saying that that's an important parcel for the future of our downtown.
Bennett told WHAV he has no particular plans for the fifth floor, but may resell or lease space. The city of Haverhill has received a total of $19.3 million in state Mass Works grants over 2 years to make the project possible. Some of that money was used in the last week to pay off the foundation's $3.9 million mortgage to Pentucket Bank, Ronald Trombley, manager, confirmed Friday. Much more on this story can be found at WHAV.net. In local high school sports, Whittier Tech Wildcats baseball teams in action Monday against Lowell Catholic High School. Varsity and junior varsity teams play host at Whittier Tech, while the freshman team travels to Hadley Field in Lowell. Meanwhile, the girls' varsity softball team was handed a loss by Lowell High School Saturday, the score 4-3. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Dana Esmail.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. The European Union has approved a plan to use military force to destroy migrant traffickers' boats in the Mediterranean Sea. The controversial proposal is part of a wider EU agenda to tackle the growing migrants crisis as tens of thousands of people board flimsy boats hoping to reach EU shores. Nearly 2,000 people have drowned this year already. Our Europe correspondent Jack Perak reports.
EU foreign and defence ministers have given the green light to a plan to form a military search and destroy mission to try to debilitate gangs conducting the operations to smuggle migrants across the Mediterranean Sea. The EU hopes to get the mission started within a month. It's part of a broader plan which also includes resettling migrants across EU countries through a quota system. Many of the migrant boats set off from Libya. The Libyan authorities have said they don't want this mission to be conducted in their territorial waters, and the operation also needs to be permitted by a UN Security Council resolution, which Russia looks set to veto.
The Obama administration says that the fall of the Iraqi city of Ramadi to the Islamic State is a setback. But a spokesman says the president has always understood that the battle with the Islamic State would be long and difficult. Shiite militias backed by Iran are now heading to the city in a bid to try and force Islamic State fighters to withdraw. Our Washington correspondent Simon Marks has this report.
With Ramadi in Islamic State's control and the Iraqi government turning to militias backed by Iran for help, the White House is in a corner. State Department spokesman Jeff Rathke put the best possible interpretation on events.
There's no denying that this is a setback, but there's also no denying that the United States will help the Iraqis take back Ramadi.
But to do that, the US has to find a way of working in concert with Shiite fighters who take their orders from Tehran. And all of this only underscores the weakness of Iraq's government and its armed forces.
U.S. President Barack Obama has used a trip to New Jersey to announce a ban on the sale of some kinds of military equipment to local law enforcement agencies. Armored vehicles, bayonets, grenade launchers, camouflage uniform, and large caliber weapons and ammunition will be included in the new regulations. Speaking in the city of Camden, Mr. Obama endorsed the findings of a federal working group that recommended the ban, as well as providing more training, supervision, and oversight to police forces.
The recommendations were released in March. They were finalized today. They include everything from enhanced officer training to improving the use of body cameras and other technologies to make sure that police departments are being smart about crime and that there's enough data for them to be accountable as well.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
WAVE weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with WAVE weather. We're going to head through tonight with more and more clouds and maybe a shower toward daybreak. I don't think we're going to see too much rain tonight. Temperatures are going to be in the upper 40s. Tuesday, though, we'll see some showers, possibly a thunderstorm. It'll be breezy with a high in the upper 60s as the cold front comes through. Showers and thunderstorms early Tuesday night should taper off and then late at night. With a low in the mid-50s, it'll be breezy too. Sunny and breezy Wednesday, upper 60s, mostly sunny and 70 Thursday. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next WAVE weather in 30 minutes.
Those Boston stations don't always understand weather in the Merrimack Valley. Stay informed with WAVE weather every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day on Soft Gold, WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV, Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents The Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And welcome back to The Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. Why do I say that? Well, it was started by Edwin V. Johnson back in the 1950s. Ed used to say back then they would not allow calls directly on the air for fear now there's delay systems and so on, and so that allowed calls to go on the air. I don't know if Chris loves radio, so maybe he'd be interested in this. Back then, and up until recently, actually, they used to use two reel-to-reel decks, top and bottom. They would record on the top deck and then run the tape down to the bottom deck and play back. And they would space out the recorders enough so that would give them an 8-second delay. What would frequently happen, and Tom Bergeron would mention this frequently in his memoirs and other things, every now and then that tape would break. And so there'd be no playback. And Tom said he ended up in a very bad cut in his hand, frantically trying to put the tape reels back on during the Bill Pike era of the open mic show. So a little trivia. All right, we'll take our break at 8:20, and so I'm going to give people 6 minutes to call in a birthday wish or an anniversary wish, and the lucky couple or the lucky individual will win a cake from LBD's second-generation Italian bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford. And thank you so much to the Lieutenant, Brian Langlois, for reminding me. I can't believe what happened to this month. It just went by so fast. So we probably won't be on the air next week because of Memorial Day. Ooh, that reminds me. That's going to create a problem because I think I even scheduled guests for that. So we'll have to rearrange schedules. But I think we'll have to make it into a news feature. But Sean Clancy, some of you may be friends with him on Facebook. He now lives out on the West Coast, but he is a big Archie Comics fan and a researcher. And we all know Archie Andrews is from Haverhill, and Riverdale High is Haverhill High School. And they've done a wonderful documentary called Archie's Betty. And you might be surprised to find out who Betty really is. You know, and I think that was scheduled for next week, so we're probably going to have to turn that into a news feature and run it during the week next week. But it is fascinating, and we'll look at how we can get that information to all of you. But again, 978-374-1900. If you know someone, including yourself, who's having a birthday in June, or a couple that's having an anniversary in June, call right now. Put their name in the hat. I hear the phones ringing. We'll put the name in the hat, and then we'll do the drawing when we return from the break in about 4 minutes. So you have 4 minutes to get those in. And you know, LBD's second-generation Italian bakery, they're going to provide a free 7-inch cake, your choice of vanilla or chocolate. It's really easy. You'll get a letter from WHAV telling you where to call and to place your order, and then you'll bring the letter with you when you pick up your birthday or anniversary cake. So that's good news. Now, back to the other topics we might want to discuss in the time that we have left. Certainly a big shock yesterday afternoon when Haverhill Fire Chief Richard Borden passed away, only 56 years of age. Quite a tragedy. I spoke with Mayor Fiorentini this afternoon, and out of respect for the family, there'll be no announcements of any appointments or interim appointments until the mourning period is over. That is completely understandable as the situation is. For those of you who may have some concerns about that, you may know that our police chief, Alan De Niro, is actually also the Commissioner of Public Safety. Haverhill City Council voted some time ago to actually, in a sense, merge the departments. So there is someone at the helm regardless. All right, Chris, do we have a birthday wish? Oh, no, not a birthday wish. All right. Well, listen, folks, you have 2 minutes. 978-374-1900. 1900. Chris is going to put the names in the hat if they're not already there, and we'll do that drawing in a couple of minutes. Other news items. Did you catch WHAV News last week reporting that a very large effort of local Haverhill police, state police, national, federal Homeland Security investigators, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, explosives investigators converging on Winter Street during the last month. Haverhill Detective Captain Robert Prestoni, great quote from him. He said, "They will not tolerate," quote, brazen lawlessness in Haverhill. He said that some of these criminals, or alleged, as we might say, were literally firing gunshots in near our downtown on Winter Street. They were rounded up, a number of arrests, including arrests for attempted murder, possession of ammunition, possession of drugs, and that kind of thing. I think if we had an audience here, there'd be cheers right now, and should be, for the great job Haverhill Police are doing in cleaning up that element. Now, Haverhill is a very large place, about 36 square miles, and so I don't want anyone outside of our city itself to get the wrong impression. We're talking about a very small portion of our city, in the inner city, and not even, in our restaurant row downtown, but outside of that. And I guess, every city has a spot like that, and maybe even every town. And one last comment before we go to break. The other interesting thing I've noticed from WHAV News, have you noticed all of the white-collar crime arrests coming out of Andover? I mean, we're talking about really big-ticket thefts. We're talking about people who've swindled others, pharmaceuticals and Medicare fraud. I would say that Andover really has some apologies to make. When it comes to dollar value, there may very well be more crime in Andover than in Lawrence. Maybe you want to talk to me about that. Let's take a break now for Community Spotlight. We'll be back. Try to work in any of your calls on that comment and or whatever you'd like, and we'll release the name of the birthday or anniversary cake winner.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
If you want to know what's going on at WHAV, sign up for the free monthly Wavelengths newsletter online at whav.net.
Catch the wave!
This is Tom Hartman inviting you to tune into the Tom Hartman program on WHAV every weekday beginning at noon. I'm here 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, taking your calls live and providing all the news you need to know. The Tom Hartman program is your media support group for We the People. Again, please join me weekdays beginning at noon right here on WHAV. Remember, only local radio can bring you this progressive talk opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight!
The Haverhill Council on Aging is sponsoring a motor coach trip to Atlantic City, Philadelphia, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The trip includes 2 nights in Lancaster, 1 in Atlantic City, a $15 gambling bonus, 5 meals, the Amish experience, Joseph the Musical Show, and a guided tour of Philadelphia. The trip departs Monday, October 12th and returns Thursday, October 15th. Cost is $3.99 per person, double occupancy. Contact Kathy or Rita at 978-374-2390 for additional information. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Alyssa Torres.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
This hour of Open Mic is being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. Just a reminder, it'll come out tomorrow by email, but if you are not aware of Merrimack Valley happenings, it's a weekly email, but it also appears on the website Merrimack Valley, one word, .info. I would say it's the most complete list of events going on from Greater Lowell to Greater Newburyport, and that includes Greater Haverhill, of course. But events from free to tickets for a play, a school event, what have you, it is the most comprehensive listing of events I have ever seen. So go to merrimackvalley.info. You can read Merrimack Valley happenings right there, or you can fill out the form and get it in your email box every Tuesday. So we'll see how that works. All right, Chris, can I have the hat? Or maybe Chris will turn on his own camera and he will do the drawing, so you know there's no funny business here. You know what? Let's do that. Chris, let's turn on the camera for the control room. There's Chris right there. He's going to be our Vanna White. Is that her name? And he is going to draw the winner. Okay, you got your mic on?
Yes, I do.
All right. Chris, Open Mic Show producer. All right. Who do we have? Let's read the name.
Alrighty.
And that's the famous, what Jack Bevilacqua calls the Chinese cowboy hat. He didn't want to spend a lot of money and found one made in China, like everything else around here. All right, Chris.
The winner of the cake is Fred Sunderland, who celebrates a birthday on June 8th.
All right, happy birthday, Fred. This is the attorney, Fred, that Marcel nominated. Is that right?
You are correct.
All right. Well, Marcel, you are a winner, and you've just helped Fred become a winner. Happy birthday, Fred. Okay, 4 minutes till the end of the program. We might be able to squeeze in a call if you want to get it in, 978-374-1900. Here's a comment that we just received via the internet. It's probably a little bit late, but there was a story in WHAV News coming out last week before, about tempers in the Haverhill City Council flaring over medical marijuana. Councilor Scatamaccia ended up abstaining from the vote on whether or not the mayor should send a new letter of, quote, non-opposition to Healthy Farms medical marijuana plans for Haverhill. Healthy Farms apparently is willing to abandon the location that's no longer zoned by the council, and that is on Hale Street, and moving out to the Route 97 Broadway Industrial Park area. This commenter wrote, "Always a touchy subject. Thank you for sharing." Yeah. Now, again, this is my opinion portion of the program. Voters, whether you agree or disagree with them, voters are supreme. Voters in Massachusetts, and particularly Haverhill, I believe the number is 64% of Haverhill residents, voted to approve medical marijuana. My issue is not that. I think the voters are supreme. My issue is dirty money, corrupt corporate politics. We have a letter written by a former state senator who has become a lobbyist, Jim Jujuga. He, never enough money for this guy. He became the paid president of the Greater Haverhill Chamber of Commerce, and always has an angle, a wheeler and a dealer. And he apparently prepares this letter, tells the State Department of Public Health that everybody in Haverhill welcomes this. He names all these local officials. He points to this letter signed by Scatamaccia that really Jajuga wrote and the mayor passed along on council letterhead. And I think that's the part of the process that bothers me. It's not that we're trying to take away from the voters, and in fact, I think it's the voters approved this some time ago. You'd think one of these things would be open by now. But whether or not you can just inject corporate dirty money into everything, I suppose we're seeing it with national trade policies. We're seeing it with our major 10 largest banks. We're always seeing this kind of thing, but it's really a shame that it happened at the local level. And it's too bad that so many locals were involved. But I believe on the advice of Council President John Mitchison, Robert Scatamaccia elected to abstain from the vote. But in any event, City Council did not approve sending the letter of non-opposition to the State Department of Public Health. However, I would think that DPH, whose director, I would say much discredited director of this project, has moved on or will be moving on. So that maybe some justice is being served. In any event, I see Haverhill Community Television has cut us off. It's 8:30. This is our hard deadline. So I'm going to wish you a happy Memorial Day. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more of the Open Mic Show. Thank you to our producer, radio DJ Chris, the man with 4 stations. I only have this one. I don't know what it is. But anyway, thank you, Chris. All right, have a good night, everyone.
Open Mic!
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again next Monday night at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic Show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic Show came to you from the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom.
It's 8:31.
Your donations enable WHAV to remain local and independent. Consider giving what you can afford at WHAV.net.